Shoot.
You are now live.
Not working.
No, you're live, Zach.
Yeah. Hello, everyone. We are live in some places more than others. This is Zach, and today Andrew, I was going to call you Candrew, is a co-host from Riverside, from the Gravel Pack. So, I just shared that video you had of Anza Borrego. That looked like a heady adventure, a little more than a gravel bike would normally handle.
Yeah, I was on 2.6-inch tires, and I had my new Spinergy wheels to give me just a little bit more cush, and it was still really, really rough. That Stagecoach, people that do that Stagecoach, you guys are rock solid, because even that little tiny section I did for a Scout was pretty gnarly.
And how many Strada Rossas have you done?
I think I've done 4, if I remember correctly. I'd probably have to go back and look at my pictures. I did last year. I got scared because Michael Heal, I didn't believe him when he said, bring your thinner tired bike. And so I brought that same big bike. It killed me. I tried to cut the course early, and I ended up doing the same exact mileage. So that was definitely karma grabbing me. But yeah, all of them have been amazing. I think Redlands is a magical land for cyclists. And it's a great route put on by really awesome people. Michael's and Adrienne are awesome.
Yes. Well, let's bring these awesome people in, because we can only say the word awesome so many times. So, hello, Adrienne, Michael. Thanks for joining us. You, Phil, this is the 3rd year in a row you've been our first guest of the new year. So, welcome, and thanks again for coming on and hosting such a great event.
Happy 2024.
And thanks for having us on. That's awesome.
Well, I know that this year is year 10, and although maybe we had a pandemic in between, but 10th edition, and it's definitely a very special ride. And for the people that have not done one before, give a brief overview of what you would have to say about the riding in the area.
Do you want to go, Adrienne?
No, you go first.
Okay, I'm going to pick people.
I don't know.
You can expect a lot of climbing.
Well, where we live, you
Green
can't
Hills.
get away from always doing 1,000 feet of vertical for every 10 miles. So, however long the ride is, you're always going to be climbing. That said, I think we kind of stay away from most things that are over 15%. So maybe there's a few
Except
things
for last year.
Maybe a few things here and there, but for the most part, it's all rideable. In fact, most of the course I've done on a road bike at some point. Maybe not all in one go, but I've ridden pretty much everything on a road bike. So it's not I wouldn't be the fastest on the road bike, but it's still good. And we're really blessed with great single track out here, and that to me is the great stuff. Going up and down. So it's getting a bit of everything that into the ride, I think, is good. I don't know if you want to
I wouldn't recommend anybody doing any of this on a road bike, though.
It's doable. Maybe not recommended.
If you want to walk
believe
a lot.
him.
Yeah.
Don't believe him.
Don't listen to him.
Well, this is a question that I haven't asked before, and there are so many off-road options in the area, and they're all great. How do these roads and trails get to be so well maintained?
Okay, so there are actually people who do trail maintenance out here. Maybe not necessarily fully organized to do trail maintenance. The ones at Crafton are quite often actually organized through Crafton. You're not really supposed to build new trails out there and do any kind of maintenance unless you're going through the organization, because it is land that is being used in conservation, and the same with some of the Redlands trails. But there are people who do work on them. And then there are people who work on the ones that are not really part of any of the conservancies as well. I don't know if Joey Shelton ends up watching this, but he does a lot, and John Beatty does an awful lot of trail maintenance in the area. So, and when Mark used to live here, who started Strada Rossa, he used to do it a whole bunch as well. So, and then, before the ride actually happens, if we know that a trail needs some work, we'll go and fix it. We have had horses ruin some of the trails right before the ride. Like we've gone and fixed it, and then a bunch of horses have come through and just like destroyed it after it's rained or whatever. So, but like we kind of do what we can to fix certain things and trim back certain things if it's overgrown or whatever.
And Strada Rossa, as in like the event, the proceeds go towards some of that trail maintenance and stuff too, right?
Right. It goes towards the Redlands Conservancy as well as Crafton Hills Conservancy, and then the Inland Empire Biking Alliance as well. So between the three, we don't carry a balance forward. Every single penny we raise goes straight in there. And that's one of the things, like that's like we're kind of limited to 300 riders. So once we've sold out, we're sold out and we don't sell and we can't open more tickets. The conservancies won't let us use more than 300 people. So we're kind of limited by that. So in a way, it's also a blessing because I do think one of the benefits we have is that we do basically like a home cooked meal, and it's much better than catered food, in my opinion. And when you have more than 300, it gets really difficult to do that. So the food thing kind of goes with the 300 cap. I think it's doable to do 300, but going more than that, it gets much more challenging to do the food as well. I don't know if you have anything to add, Adrienne.
Well, I was just going to say that the folks that do work on the trails here, they just volunteer their time. They're kind of the unsung heroes. And a lot of times they just go unnoticed.
True.
So yeah, they're not really organizing trail maintenance days or anything like that. They just kind of go out there and fix the trails. So yeah, it's pretty great that they're out there doing that.
And I think if you guys, for those of you that are watching that haven't done Redlands, is like a really contrasting, beautiful city. And I live not too far away, just in Riverside. But you can be, it feels almost like a secret tour of the city where you're like going through a park and then you're hitting the carriage trail. I don't know what they're doing this year. And then, you go up and you're in these hills and you're overlooking, you got these cool little water spots or like reservoirs and stuff. It's just, and you have the mountains that are like sometimes snow capped. They probably will be, hopefully this year. So just awesome opportunities for great writing and great pictures. And Toshka in comments, if it is near you, you should do it. And you better register now, especially with this going live.
Yeah. How many spots do we have left, Michael?
I looked about an hour ago and I think there were 34.
Oh man. Yeah. If you haven't signed up yet, get on it.
This weekend. Wow.
Yeah. It is kind of crazy that's like become a thing, where it's selling out so fast. So, and it's great too, and, we thank people for putting their trust in us at the same time. So, yeah.
Now, I mean, if people like are just getting into all this, I know that you typically have 3 different routes. So like longer, longest. But it seems like there's something for everyone, and people, they're just getting initiated into off-roading. The course is challenging, but not impossible to do, right?
Yeah, that's right. I have had people tell me before, like, for the shorter length that they would like it to be a little bit easier, but I feel like, if there's something that you can't ride, just walk it. At least for us, when we're trying to mark the course or clean it up, to have as much overlap between the courses is the easiest thing for us to do. And also we want everybody to feel the flavor of Strada Rossa. So like, for me to divert like a bunch of people around like a more complicated single track, I'm not going to do it. So yeah.
And
just
I think
practice, and if you can't do it, just walk it. Just don't worry about like other people sitting behind you and waiting. They'll go around.
And I know that seems to be the spirit of gravel, because the Mammoth Tough, Amanda, she says kind of the same thing. Like if you're going to come out and do the shorter ride, you're going to get all the spice of life in that
Yep.
short one too. It's going to be shorter, but it still won't be easy. And I think you guys have really always done that at Strada Rossa too, which I think makes it just a great event.
Yeah, I've always said
think
just because it's shorter doesn't mean it's easier.
Yeah. Any gravel event that we do, you should want to murder whoever made the route at the end. If you don't, they didn't do their job. Like it's like every time I do the rock cobble, I want to like shake Sam's hand and then slap him in the face. Like this is the thing, you know.
Or punch him
It's,
in the gut.
It's a, you know, I think their job is also to like show you everything, and there should be something in there that you hate.
Mhm.
Yep.
Maybe more than one thing or not. So I mean, and that's part of the challenge of all the gravel thing is also it's not easy, and you can make it harder by riding harder. So it's you know.
You're very comfortable with that. Oh,
Oh, someone's there.
never had
Your
that
food's
happen.
arrived.
I'm in the garage. I'm totally detached. I don't know why I'm supposed to be a doorman 24/7. Well, here's a question just from a Facebook user, and probably I should preference this before everything that you do not reveal the route ahead of time, other than possibly one section that reappears. But I'll put it the opposite way. Has there ever been a part that you've done once and you're like, we're not doing that again? I was thinking like, you know, the rock cobbler where Sam had that ball pit at the bottom of a hill and everybody kept crashing.
You get
So,
that
not that you have those type of antics for the Strada Rossa, but has there ever been like a part where you're like,
yeah,
it's a little bit different having 300 people coming through than just a group of regular people?
There was one ride that we did once where we kind of went over towards the Riverside Way, and even though the road has an easement, meaning we can ride it, a guy in his house came out and yelled at everyone, and they all turned around, and it kind of messed things up. So we won't be going back there. Just so yeah, that. But outside of that, I can't think that there's like one particular area we've only ever done once and thought, oh no, we're not doing that again. It's too dangerous or something. The question I think was about the dam. The dams was a special kind of a deal in the sense that Mark, who started Strada Rossa, was working for the county at the time. And so he had some connections to the county, which allowed him to get the permissions done. But now that he's moved away, that isn't going to happen. So although, you know, the dam is like, you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't. It's great to climb it. The backside of it isn't as much fun to come down it. And to send 300 people down it too is also a bit, and it's, I mean, the climb itself is pretty cool, but it's a hard climb. It's a mile and you do 560 feet, I think, in a mile. It's a pretty steep climb and it's all road. And then you realize at the top, there's nothing at the back there. So, but anyway, I mean, it was really cool to do. And that dam is essentially there in case there's an earthquake so that we don't get flooded from all the water from Big Bear. That's what the dam is actually doing.
Do you mean if the dam in Big Bear breaks?
Yeah.
It's a backup dam to,
stop us from being flooded.
Wow.
The backside of it's crazy if you ever get a chance, Zach.
Yeah, it's actually really fun to ride through the back there because we do that every summer and we ride up to Hydro 1. There's a hydro plant back there from Edison, which is still running. There's no one there. But it's pretty cool back there.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to throw just quickly on the background. You don't have to comment, but I'll just throw on the video kind of that I made from a couple years ago because there are a couple points up here that I think people might ask along the way. But I've disappeared. But yeah, this was from 2 years ago, not last year. I wasn't able to put together a full video for reasons that I can only make probably a 5-mile video, I guess is all I can say. but yeah, when I know someone just asked here what percent is dirt and road, but Adrienne, you're the lead architect in planning the course.
Yeah, it's probably about like 65 to 70% dirt typically. I try to maximize as much dirt as possible and limit the amount of that we have to be on the road.
And then like in terms of like the hills, like I'm probably like not as many people that haven't been out there before is not familiar with the region, but the fact that you can tap into so many different open spaces is just really unusual. I think like here in Los Angeles, just everything has been developed, but this is just so many great choices of being able to go around and find places that not just have open spaces, but somehow they each have like a different variety. So do you try and dip into as many different pieces as possible, or is it just kind of more you go out there and you ride it and you just like, ooh, this has a nice flow to it?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, mainly we want to showcase all the beautiful parks and open spaces that the various conservancies have preserved within Redlands. So trying to connect those up as much as possible in a flowy manner is really what I'm trying to do. And this year, and there's certain like trails where you're like, oh, it's more fun in this direction versus that. There might be a way on that trail that's harder, but it may be more flowy in another direction. So like this year, I'm really trying to like make sure we're doing it in the direction that I know that I really enjoy. Like it's flowy and fun, not just hard.
Yeah.
Although I have thrown in some humdingers in there, so yeah,
Yes,
some
you
things to look
have.
forward to.
Last year, you certainly did. Do you guys feel like, because I think one of the things I noticed about your ride that feels different is it seems like there's more of an even mix on like mountain bikes and gravel bikes. There's a lot of gravel bikes, obviously, but there's a lot of hardtails and stuff like that I talked to last year.
Yeah, I guess it just really depends on what people, what kind of ride that they come out on. I think sometimes it's like the course may be better for a mountain bike. Probably the year that I think Zach's showing here may have been like better for a mountain bike, just because of like the amount of sand and dryness we had that year. Last year, I think probably a gravel bike would have been just fine.
Mm-hmm.
I know. Sorry, Michael, what were you going to say?
Yeah, I was just going to say, I really enjoy and like the fact that people show up in very different bikes. And I think the more we make people question their choice, if they have the choice, because I think a lot of people don't have like all the bikes. And,
Yes.
those who do, we want to make them question.
Well, and the reason why I think one of the, like I've pointed a lot of people to Gravel Bike California that don't want a gravel bike, because I feel like one of the things that's a bummer is like, hey, why don't you come out and ride? I can't ride because I can't afford another gravel bike or another bike. My wife says I'm at my limit. I have a road bike and a mountain bike. And I was like, well, come out anyways. It's just, a little bit more chill mountain biking. And I love that your route has always felt that way. I distinctly remember not being happy at the end of one year and going up to Michael and being like, bro, no matter what bike I brought, it was the wrong one at some point on that course. And that's, I think, part of the charm of gravel in California, but you guys have really embodied that in your particular event too, I think.
I see that as a compliment. And that's a compliment to the person who ever designs a course as well. Because I think, I think it's the same with rock cobbler, right? I think if you could do it on a gravel bike or a mountain bike, a hardtail or a full suspension. It's ride what you have, and if you have the choice, then pick whatever you think is the best one for that choice. So, sorry, Adrienne, what were you going to say?
Oh, I didn't have anything to add to that. But yeah, thanks for the compliment.
Yeah.
Well, I know right here, I know we're not giving out the course, but I know that the Crafton Hills has a few options as well. and I know it's a centerpiece of a lot of local rides. A beautiful place to do it. And let's just describe what the Crafton Hills are for, whether or not it's going to be in this year's edition, because it's a great place to ride. And while there's the dirt road that kind of like goes across the top, a lot of great single track as well.
Yeah, like there's more single track in Crafton Hills that we don't typically do or that I don't put in for Strada Rossa, just because they might make for a more challenging descent. And I want to also keep it as safe as possible, because I know that not everybody has like expert skills. And I also don't want people to be like sweating in anxiety, fear sweats the whole time. But yeah, if anybody ever wants to come out and ride Crafton, there are quite a few other single tracks coming up and down the side of the park that we don't typically do for Strada Rossa that you can come and test out. Like Regional Park Trail, it's kind of a longer trail that comes from the almost towards the top, but a little bit on the backside and drops down into Ukaipa Regional Park. It's a pretty nice trail. And there's also one that goes up to Zanja Peak and then drops down, which is what's called the Dumb Trail. It's a bit more challenging.
Yeah. Yeah, the Dump Trail is definitely a challenge, as is the regional park, but both are doable. You can ride the entire thing. The end of the Dump Trail is really steep, but people can ride it. So yeah, there's so much that you can do, but in doing the ride through that, you typically tend to like go up, and you either go up it and then down the backside, or you come up the backside and go down the front side. It's kind of hard to like zigzag through the thing.
And there's a little sag thing right there. I think one of the things that's always been really cool about your event too is you're using all local like bike shops and local people that help do these sag stops, which have always been really awesome. And good job, Itashka. He got in. So boom, registered. He put that in the comments. Good job,
Nice.
buddy. Way to make it in that
Just
34.
Now we have 33 slots left.
The sag stops are really run by our bike stores. We give them what I call a like sag stop starter kit with a lot of the basics, and then they can add to that however they see fit. And then it's really great that they support the event, because they put time and money and effort into running the sag stops. They usually have a mechanic at the sag stop with some supplies, tubes, sealant, pumps, brake pads. 2019 was the year where people realized they needed brake pads on the sag stops too. And then, so it's really great that they're doing that, and it's really awesome for them. And we couldn't be happier to have people like that be willing to be a part of the event. So it's really great.
Yeah, so shout out to those local bike shops, because you guys rock. And for a small event, I think you guys have one of the more impressive sag stops too. I have a weird gravel bike. I know Michael at least knows this, and Zach does too. So I have like a magic carpet ride. It's a dual suspension abomination / gravel bike. And I went down that. It was the year, I think it was 2 years ago. And you had us coming down from Crafton on that crazy steep, rocky, and then of course at that point something happened and my rear suspension was not like suspensioning. It was like locked out, and it was one of the mechanics at one of the sag stops. I hugged him. I was like, thank you so much, because I was already kind of like beat up, so he was able to fix me and get me running on the way.
See, there's Don's right there. And then the other one who have always supported us being Cyclery as well. So, and then we've had a couple others who have also like 951 bikes and join us as well. So,
yeah, and then the Redlands Conservancy hosts the one that's typically outside of Oakmont Park.
I love that one. Yeah, she had bananas and everything last year. It's great.
Yeah, ignore the video here.
I know we're all getting like sucked into the video
production.
I got right.
Okay, hopefully I've resolved this problem for my next ride. You know. Well, I mean, just also for people who don't know the region, obviously this spreads further beyond Redlands, and the ride itself is, with the long rides, typically 80 to 90 miles, correct?
Yep.
And so it's not just the Redlands area, but like Ukaipa and other neighboring
Highland.
regions as well.
Yeah, and Highland. I guess Mentone as well. I don't know if do we really consider Mentone a town? maybe I shouldn't say that in public.
And this
they don't have like a little downtown like Ukaipa does, but we go through the area. So like this spot here that you're showing right now would be Mentone.
Okay, I remember that.
That's right near the dam.
Crossing the river, I guess.
And would you guys say that this year it would be good to be on what kind of bike?
That's for Adrienne. I know what Michael's saying.
I would still stick with a gravel
bike or
bike.
hardtail. Yeah, like either one.
Gravel bike is fine.
How big tires?
I would. I've been running 42s, and I dig that system.
Adrienne's
bigger. I ride 35s, so. And I ride a cyclocross bike.
Yeah.
Anytime anybody asks me like what kind of gravel bike I have, I say, well, actually, it's a cyclocross bike.
Well, I have the same bike as Adrienne, ironically, and
exactly.
I always say the best gravel bike is a cyclocross bike.
For those of you guys watching, I don't have the skill that either of these two do, and I would not recommend going that small. But 42s, okay. Ain't no way I do 36s. I would die.
Well, let's answer that, because typically you don't have as much gearing on a cross bike. So why would you say?
Yeah, so one by.
Yeah, I changed my gearing for sure.
Okay.
But you still have a one by though, don't you?
I have a one by, yeah, with an 1142 on the back and a 40 on the front.
Okay, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
Now we've had some pretty weird weather conditions. Last year was pretty snowy, pretty wet. Year before, kind of dryish. This year was supposed to be wet, but doesn't seem to be playing out. Looks like we've had a decent amount of wetness, but not what we've been expecting. But how are the trails and everything else faring this winter?
I'd say so far they're holding up pretty well. Last year was really an anomaly. Like, yeah, the amount of rain that we got really destroyed a bunch of sections within, like this area here where you're walking in the sand. Like that whole area in there is pretty much just trashed from the weather last year. I guess it's the Santa Ana River that comes through there, or in like some other small creeks and things, and they just like overtook that whole wash area. So we actually had intended to like bring people through there last year, and I had to change the whole course and divert it around that because there was just so much water. Like, what used to be just a dry riverbed turned into like a raging river.
Correct. Also, like when did we have the aftermath of the hurricane come through here? It really did make a lot of things, like the Santa Ana River, where if you backed up the video where they crossed over the river there, that whole section has been completely changed. People in four-wheel drive cars can't drive through there anymore. And so you pretty much have to walk it. You used to be able to ride your bike through it. You can't do that anymore. You can ride parts of it, but you can't really get through the whole thing. It's just too bumpy. There's too many rocks in the way. And then the river's kind of gone down. So you can actually ride across the river, but at the end is all kind of like cliff. There's like a little cliff that you have to climb out of. So
I know, like from the hurricane in August, like it did a lot of damage along the mountains, and I didn't realize earlier this year, Vic and I went out and we did this Desert X ride across the Coachella Valley. And probably, that was in April, and then August, the storm hit and did some real big damage to this old Highway 99 bridge that was the main connector before I-5 was built. And now it did some damage, and now it's just completely crumbled. And so I've always been interested in geology because, interesting to see how it breaks up our trails and how you build them across waterways. So I'm glad that you guys haven't been hit too hard, because I know, like in my areas, there's been some trails that have been completely wiped out.
Yeah, like some trails were like damaged from a lot of the rain that we got last year. Then some of the trail people did fix some of those things, but then, some of them, haven't weathered as well. So, yeah. But for the most part, most of our like trails that we've been riding for, the last like 8 years consistently have kind of remained the same. With the exception of Grapes Yikes, which has really deteriorated. And that's largely because the guy rides his horse over it every day.
Sure.
And so, it's like when you, if you fixed it, it would just be destroyed immediately. Right. And then it rains and it gets worse, and then he rides through again, and then so it just makes it challenging to do that for that reason. And especially when it's like all soft and soggy and he rides through with his horse, it just destroys the trail. So,
well,
ruts and bumps.
Yeah.
Last year was the 10th anniversary or 10th ride of the Rock Cobbler, and it definitely seemed that Sam had put some of his favorites in there. Riding through the house was brought back. A couple other antics from his favorite ones. Is a similar approach happening for this? Like, this is 10 and we want it to be a greatest hits, or I'm just looking for the most awesome riding, or is there a theme to make this one maybe stand out a little or be a celebration of 10 years? That's a lot.
I do think we're trying to do a few things. One, like hopefully our t-shirt will turn out really awesome. And then this year, what's different is we're also like asking everyone to buy the t-shirt. And I think that will actually make things easier, because a lot of people didn't know that they could buy a t-shirt, and they think they can buy it on the day, but then we don't have any because we had to pre-order them. And then it just, but outside of the t-shirt thing, we are planning couple of things that we hope will be fun.
You'll just have to come out and see.
You feel like two mischievous kids are in the back of the classroom. It's like, yes, we have some things planned.
We can't reveal too many secrets. We'll ruin it.
You tried, Zach. You tried.
There's an old abandoned mall downtown here, and this will never happen, but this would be a dream of mine. And there's like the escalators and everything in the mall, and it would just be awesome just to run the ride right through the mall. Like an abandoned mall, what better place to ride through?
You gotta get the permit for that.
Well, it's never going to happen because, they can't even rebuild the place, let alone ride through it.
Right, liability and stuff. And I'm pretty sure it says Facebook user in comments, bring back the bagpipes player, but that's got to be Eric Lewis. I bet that's who that is.
Oh, so the bagpipes is Tress, and yeah, she's played for us a few times. I've tried to get her the last 2 or 3 years. She's usually busy because Strada Rossa always happens the third Saturday in March, and it always happens to be around St. Patrick's Day, and that's like the busiest time of the year for her.
Oh, I bet.
And so she's done it. The last time, I think, was 2019. She did it for us, and I've asked her. I should actually reach out and see if she's up for it again this year, because it's slightly before St. Patrick's Day this year, so maybe she can do it. I think it's a week before. So hopefully she can, but that would be awesome. One of my favorite memories of Strada Rossa was riding up the 38 special, and she was playing the Star Wars theme song at the top, bagpipes, and it was amazing. Like
awesome.
you come around the corner and you just hear these bagpipes. It's like, because they're not very soft, they're very loud.
Oh yeah.
And it must have been like a group of 20 of us all in a single line going up that single track, and we just all rode by her, and it was pretty cool.
Have there been complaints from neighbors of the sound, or where that's coming from? Or it's very ambient fueled sound that's like, you can't get rid of. So is the placement of the bagpipe player critical?
Yeah, when I used to do the route and I had her do it, I would tell her 2 or 3 places and she'd go and check them out and then decide. She wouldn't really tell me which one she would choose, but she would usually go to one. Most people would go through, then she'd move to the next spot and then do it again. So the last time she did it was in 2019, and she did it in Oakmont, and then she did it again at the top of the dam. So as you got at the top of the dam, get these bagpipes playing. It was pretty cool.
That's not a no, Eric. Looks like it might happen. We'll have to find out. He's registered, so he's gonna know.
Okay. Yeah, I could get to bagpipe conversation. I'm glad that angle is brought up. Like, how would you even learn it? How much do bagpipes cost?
Do your neighbors like you? Yeah.
Are kilts required? I don't know, but it's definitely a rabbit hole. And then, like you said, like you have big community food. I know Vic always asks if there are vegetarian options, but you always seem to have a pretty wide spread of food, and people are working really hard in the kitchen to make sure you're not getting 300, a 300-pound person serving all at once, that it keeps coming out and it's so fresh and hot as people pile in.
Yeah, Mark has always done the food when he started the ride, and he comes back for it and does the food every year. And he has a troop of kitchen helpers who help him in the back there. And I think it gets kind of festive in there, actually. But he's always got some pretty good ideas with what to do with food. So, and he's good at cooking large batches of food. So that always kind of helps. So,
yeah, love you, Mark.
And I met him in 2008, and he's been a vegetarian since I met him. And so he's very, like, he'll always have vegetarian, vegan options as well. So he's never, and he puts on bike tours as well. And then even on the bike tours, he always has options with the food.
So we'll start to wrap it up, but we'll kind of leave it a fill in the blank type of question. Redlands Strada Rossa number 10 will be a success if Adrienne.
Lots of smiling faces at the end. No crashes.
Yeah, no crashes. Yeah, definitely. And for me, if I see lots of different bikes.
Yeah,
I like the smiling faces, and also if I sit at the end and I see a lot of people who don't or didn't know each other before talking to each other, those are my success indicators. Different bikes, how much they hate the course person, and is everyone speaking to each other at the end and having fun? Like that's
nothing brings people together like a bunch of people complaining about a single person and trying to find Michael. Michael's like, I didn't do it. I remember that's what he said to me. I didn't write the course.
Plausible deniability.
Well, the year before last, it was like complaints about the sand. I don't know what people were complaining about last year.
I don't know. I just remember the water tower section sucked.
Yeah.
And then
that was what people were complaining about, that the paved climb up to the reservoir.
That one was freaking steep.
Does not sound like that'll be
Michael's
back.
like, that's a walk in the park, man. See, Michael's
He
a
said
beast.
nothing was over 15, but that was an 18%er.
Yeah.
Is it?
And you have the
Yeah.
dirt, that super steep dirt section. But going into that one sag stop that the Conservancy does, like way before that, you had a real steep. A lot of
the
people walk
descent?
that one too. No, climb. It was like that one was more than the water tower, but it was short. And I can't remember what that exact section was, but I mean, for those people watching, if you haven't registered,
Oh, yeah, I know what he means.
yeah, it was like
As you
around.
enter Oakmont at the back, you get
It's right
that,
after Green Spot.
you get that one little steep hill.
You did
It's
Green
really-
Spot, and
It's really tough to make.
yes, it was like everybody's taking pictures. We're looking at all the water because there was a ton of water coming in last year underneath the bridge, and then it's like you did like the little bit of dirt, and then you have that crazy dirt climb. But awesome city to ride in. You can bring any bike. It was a great route. It kicked my butt, but in a good way. And I think I'm still going to do the 60. I'm going to see if I can maybe do the 90. Who knows? That wants to do the 90, so maybe I can push myself and make it. Who knows?
Well, you can always come back again and do the sections that you missed.
Yeah.
Or join us in a Saturday ride.
Well, Adrienne, Michael, thanks again for joining. We should have had a ticker here showing the number of registrations go down as we were on here, but congratulations again on getting ready for another super event and showcasing all the great riding you have and being great stewards for off-road riding out there.
Thank you for having us.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
All right, well, take care, and we'll connect soon.
Yeah, looking forward to seeing everybody in March.
All right, take care, everyone.
All right, have a good one.